2 of how to make an app turn into a PDF report. So I had run into some stumbling blocks and had a long work session last time, and I kind of regrouped and came back again. And now I'm going to uh, go through the next parts of this. So I'm in Power Automate here, and I've gotten this error. And so now that I've taken time to actually read it, it's saying that that it the well, let me start at the beginning or start at the end. So it's not the right format. It's expecting a string, and it's not convertible to a double. Well, what I did wrong here is in this ID column, and you can follow that in this text here. But in this, sorry, in the poor, this should be the poor number, but I put poor time. So if you look down here under poor time, is poor time. This poor number is time. So it's seeing the date time format and it's expecting an integer or a number. So I'm going to delete that out and I'm going to try again. So now if I go down, well, let me just put in poor here. We were using this, remember what we're using. Get item data from item that changed. Get item data from item that changed. So it's this one, this get item poor is what we're looking for there. And so now it just says poor instead of poor time. So I had messed that one up before. So now that I've fixed it, let's see if it'll save. Goes from saving to saved. It says we recommend that you test this. So let's see. So I should be able to test this by changing the report requested in the list to from false to true. And actually it's nothing now. They should probably say false in there as defaults. So maybe I need to change that one as well. What I'll do here is I'll just click one time on this one and it'll highlight it, or I could run over and click the radio button on the far end and go to the the details pane and go down to report requested and change that to yes or true. So that should kick off this flow. I don't have to save it because I'm only editing one record. If I was editing multiple records, I would have to hit save. I should have hit test before I did that. So let me go back. Whoop. Let me go back here again. Edit again. Uncheck it. It saved it. So it'll pop up real quick. Now I want to test and manually. The first time you run a flow, you have to do it manually. So you have to trigger this yourself. That's why sometimes I use the flow button to start with, and I can just trigger it with the button. But this time we want it to get some data. So I think it's waiting. Modify the list item, yeah. So it's waiting for that modification. So the report requested, change it to yes. It says saved. I come back here. Momentarily, it should should see that. And it says it ran successfully. That was very quick to create all those reports. So yeah, that's what I thought. So under this get changes, it did see it. It got the changes. It looked at the condition and it came back with a false. So let's look and see what it actually saw. Oh, the true false thing never works very well. It just says, yeah, it was false. So the ID is number 1. It's the first line in that list. And So for since, it's using that modified date. Has column ID changed? Has any of that changed? Current version. So none of those have changed. Report requested did change though. Okay, so it returns report requested true. Report requested true. So that's the change. Now let's go back into our edit and see what we actually ask it to do. So has column change report requested equal to yes. Oh, that's right. I had mentioned this, that sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's no, sometimes it's yes. Let's just change it to true and see if that fixes it. Now that I've run it once, I don't have to go in and change it again. When I go test, I can say automatically with a previously used trigger. Interesting that it had 2 successes in there. This is taking longer, which is good news. If I click into it, I can see that now it expressed as true, and it's going through the steps of creating the file. Made it through all the SharePoint doc file creation, that's good. Converted it to a PDF, now it's writing that back to the SharePoint document library. So we could go in and look at any of these and see what it spit out, but let's just look at the end result. That's what we care about. So I'm going to open in a new tab, the site contents. I'm going to find the document library. Let's see. This is the one we used for the reports. Okay, so now I have the original report file. I have a new report with, let me expand this a little bit, with the Rinker number, the POR number, and then the date that it was changed. Now, this is not the date of the POR, it's the date that the report was requested. So what it's done here is it's created this. Oh, that's interesting. This may not work. So it doesn't have a .docx file extension on it here. That's why it doesn't have a word or whatever that logo is here. But it did put all of the information in all of those columns that we were looking for. There was no test time 2. There shouldn't have been an error test to attempt to. I'm not sure where that came from. So let's go back to the run here and let's see where we're updating those file properties. This ID is number 2. So that has that spread to temp to. Let's go back and look at our list. Oh, it did have a second test in there. I didn't realize that. But it doesn't have the test time. Anyway, our big problem currently is let's go back and look and see what the PDF did because I'm just curious. So when it made the PDF, it was supposed to take that data, but I'm not sure how it could have. It did. It knew it was a docx file and it went ahead and created that PDF anyway. So our flow successfully created the PDF that we wanted. And if we go back into the flow and look, let me shrink this one down. That surprises me. If we look at created the file, it converted the file, but I forgot one step. Like I said, I was at the end of my attention span on our last video. So let's go back to edit and we'll tweak a few things. So first of all, when we create that file for the report, we want the file name to be blah, 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 dot, x. that will let SharePoint know that it's a Word file. So if we want to open it, then it will know to open it in Word. So that's apparently not a necessary step, but an important one. So I want to do here is one more action on the OneDrive side. OneDrive for Business, and I want that action to be to delete the file that it created right here to convert the file. So before I change that, let's do this. Rename, create file, temp Word file in and then we'll rename this one. It's a convert file action, but it's converting. Sometimes I capitalize, sometimes I don't. Okay, so it's converted this. Now this create file 2 is actually creating a file that is the new PDF version of the report. And then delete file is going to delete the so it created that temporary Word file only so it could convert it and then write it back to the SharePoint document library. Now we're deleting it to keep that OneDrive clean. Whoops. Needs to know what I want to do. Well, I want to get the ID from the create. That's the convert. Create file, temporary Word file. This is the identifier of the file. Okay, so I can save that. Now I'm going to go back to the document library here and delete out these files because I'm going to run the same flow again. And if it tries to write that with the same file name, it's going to bark. Okay, so I've saved it. I can test it with a previously used flow test. Now I think there is an option in that create file of what to do if the file already exists. So we'll look at that in just a second. Okay, we have our PDF, writing it back to SharePoint, and deleting the file. It all worked well. Nice. Okay, so I come back here and I only see the Word file. I don't see the PDF. But if I refresh, remember this is just a web page you're looking at. So it depends on how fast it refreshes it. Oh, now it says docx.pdf. I don't think that'll mess it up. No, it still opens it. So we got a PDF report. We have a Word version of the report. Again, we could delete this one too now if we don't want to keep the Word version. No, that's interesting. It has the fields in there, but it didn't populate it. I think that's because I'm opening it in the online version. Let's try it. Yeah, if I open it in the normal version of Word, I get the data coming in. So you apparently can't open it in the online version. See here where I say I have test time too. This is why I want the default or I guess it's the default value for everything to be just a dash, because then if something isn't entered, it'll just show a dash instead of the variable. All right. So the only problem now is that it puts the So this file is identified as Word now because of the docx file extension. This one takes the name with the extension and adds PDF. So let's tweak that. Gotta go into edit. Oh, there's something I wanted to show. That was that create file. I was thinking that there was an option. I was thinking that there was an option for it. If the file already exists, then you can make a choice of what to do. I don't remember what that is. Maybe it's a different type of, whoa. Maybe it's a different type of card that I'm thinking of. I can't remember. All right, so when we create the file with a PDF, we don't want to use the display name apparently. We want to use, let's see, so it was create file report for this pour. All right, I'm just gonna call it name then. Create file report for this pour name. I used display name before, so I'm gonna use name now. Try that. Again, I'm gonna save it. While it's saving, I'm gonna go back to the library and delete those two files. Again, I have that set up so that it adds the date of the report request to it, so there shouldn't ever be a duplicate file name. But if I'm running the same trigger over and over again, it will duplicate that file name. I'm just going to go back and watch it from here. So I guess it was the PDF that did it, had it incorrectly last time. There it is. It's still docx.pdf. I'm going to leave that there so that I can see what I used. Well, that's still populated. That's nice. So here it says name with extension. Here it just says file name. And I tried display name before and it did it. And then I tried name and it did it. Here's name and name with extension. That's on the get item data from it. I wouldn't think that would have an extension. It's a list item. All right, well, we're going to try this one. Update file properties with just the name only. Display name. But that's the property. File properties. Name with extension. When an item is created or modified, we have the name and the name with extension. And it's going to try the name here. So if I hover over this, I can see that this is create file report for this pour body name. This one is create file report for this. Oh, this is the same thing. So this update file properties assign list. This is the name I'm going to try. I don't know. I've done it many times before. I don't know why I'm not clicking right now. Oh, no, gotta get rid of those files first. Because it's not gonna have the same file name. It's gonna bark at that first one though, isn't it? First create file. Well, hopefully this is learning from my mistakes rather than wasted time. You could run that failed test. It's just passing the same data through. I'm going to look a different way this time. I'm going to go into where it says create file, and I'm going to click that. And I'm going to see what it used, and then I can click in the same thing up here and see where the piece I'm looking for is at. If it doesn't work. Okay, this time it worked. So it's the file.pdf. So it should be right in the others. But I could also go in here, create file report for this pour is what I was looking for before. And so then I could come down here and I could, so the name is docx, display name is docx. So they're both that way. But I could also look in this. This is the original Word file. We don't want that one. Update. And I could look at the outputs for that and find oh, that's just the modified by. There they are. So the name doesn't have that file extension, but the name with extension obviously does. So you can pick any of those you want. If you're digging around like I was just doing the guess and check method. But you can certainly do it this way too. So if I go back into the document library, I should have a docx and a .pdf with the same file name. Ta-da! Okay, next step is to edit again. Now I have that PDF report, but really this is an automated reporting tutorial, right? So what do I want to do with that? First of all, I could go new step here and it would do the new step even if no was the result. So here it's going down this path, coming back down to here. So you want to make sure that if I'm sending an email, I'm sending it inside of this part here. Otherwise, it would send an email even if there was no report requested change. So don't do new step here, do new action here. And let's send an email. Ultimately, the way I use this is I do what's called an HTTP request. This you do have to have premium for. I have spent a year trying to figure out how to do it without it, but you have to have it. So I begged and pleaded and got one account with premium so that it can run these things. But what I generally do at this point then is I will take and do an API call. So I push. I thought it was push. I guess it's post to the DocXpress API with my personal token and some specific language in the body that takes this file, it pushes it up to DocXpress in the correct contract and drawer. And so there's a few pieces I have to do first. I have to get that contract. I have to get the drawer. I have to, figure all that out. And then it pushes this up. But that's way beyond the scope of what I'm trying to show here. So I'm going to delete that one. But if you did have an API that you wanted this report to go to, that's how you would do it, is that premium connector HTTP call. All right, so the next thing, I'm going to send an email. So let's say that there was a pass fail flag along with all these other flags or all these other pieces of data. I might want to put another choice in here that if it's a pass, it just files the report. But if it's a fail, then it sends it to, I don't know, my supervisor or myself, or maybe myself, so I can send it on to somebody at the company. I don't know, whatever. So anyway, that is where you could use a control to do something based on something else or based on a piece of that data. So here I want to go into email and then Outlook 365, and I want to create or send an email. And I want to show advanced, and for attachments, I want the attachment name to be, let's just go name here again. And I wanted that new PDF version of the report. That's the name I want. They were both the same, if I recall. I'm going to choose name because if one of them has an extension, the other one doesn't, I'm guessing that it's name, and I want that extension to go through on the email. And then the attachment content, here I want that create new PDF version of the report. And you know what? I might have to get the file content first. No, it should still be in here. It should be in there under the, yeah, the OneDrive card. So if perhaps deleting this up here makes it forget the content, then I might have to rearrange those. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to send the attachment content as that content. So I guess I could have used the name of the convert file content. Yes. So there wasn't a name attached to it, so I did have to pick the name from somewhere. So I could dynamically select who I'm sending this to. I could type hard code it in that I always wanted to send it to myself. I can say here, I can say report or what do we call that? Rinker job number. And Rinker job for number is on 4 times. And then in the body, I could say something. I should say something so it doesn't bounce on my email. So here I'm going to add some dynamic content, and I'm going to say created by display name. That is not what I wanted to do. Oh, I was just in the wrong place. Okay, created by display name. Created this report. See attachment. I don't know. But any of this dynamic data we've already messed with, you can also put in the body of the email here. So one thing that I like to do, or I like when I get emails, is I don't like to have to open the attachment to see what it is. Did it pass or did it fail? If it failed, I'll open it up. If it passed, probably don't care. So you can also build that whole report right inside the body of this email. If you want to get really fancy, you can use code here. can view code, and then you can put it in HTML code. This is the unview code button, by the way. It took me a while to find. So you can like do a really fancy thing in Word and then just grab the HTML code and dump it in here and do it that way rather than a PDF attachment as well. So different options. So here dynamically, I think I want to choose to send this to whoever created or whoever modified the report, because they're the one that just hit the button. So for now, this is our task, I guess. So to do that, you can type it in. You can, if I start typing my name, yeah, no, it's looking in our company's. Well, actually, where is that looking? That must be the global list because it's a lot of Iowa stuff. Anyway, so we can choose that and put it in there. We can just type it hard in there, like if I send it to my Gmail address or whatever. We can do it dynamically, or you can switch to advanced mode here, which will just open up dynamic as well. I do that instead of whatever this add dynamic content is. So now I'm just gonna notice that it also filters it down so that there's certain things that aren't displayed anymore, like all the numbers. But if I type in email, that should show me the created by email, modified email. That's the one I want right there. So the modified email. So since I'm the one who modified it, we still should be good. All I have to do is delete out these two reports. And I think I saved it. We'll see. It'll prompt me to save it if I didn't. It's running again. In the meantime, my email is open. Let me get it to the right page here. Sure, there's no top secret stuff on my email. There is not. And what on earth is that? Wow. I hope I didn't completely screw up. Hmm. Weird. So I would have thought it would have come in my email already. I don't see it though. So we'll just check back here in just a second. Go ahead and force it to update. Oh, just buzzed on my phone. There we go. Interesting. So Automations is the account that this came from. But here it is. Lawrence and Michael created this report. See the attachment. So if I went first name, last name, like somewhere that's available in all that dynamic data. And I can click that and open the attachment, and boom, there it is. So I just created a report just from my SharePoint data without touching it at all. So we're going to delete that one and close this one. And now we have, I believe, we have our flow done. So this condition right here is all zipped up. If I click it, that's where you see the rest of it. Same with edit. If you save it with it zipped up, you won't see all the parts and you'll wonder where that stuff's at. So Rinker Poor Data Report is the Power Automate that we're looking for. And while I remember that, I'm just going to go into Power Apps and I'm going to click on the Power Automate symbol. If you don't know what that is, you can click on the hamburger and it will expand that. I'm going to add flow. Oh, match found. Does it have to be an instant flow? That's not cool. Let me just refresh my data source. I don't think this is going to help, but what the heck. How does it not find it? Something else to note though, it's using connections for my other account for the Office 365 Outlook. That's why it came from materials.automations. What I want to do is go in to edit this. And go into that email. So on every single one of these that uses permissions, if you click over here, click the three dots and you can choose what connection it's using. So I want it to use, in this case, I want it to use my personal account. I want it to come from me. Although realistically, I would have all of these on automations instead of my own personal account. The reason I do that is if something happens to me, they delete my account, and I want the automations to keep working, whoever's inheriting them. All right, so now if we go back here, the connections now should all be there was only one place we used email. So mine's in there now, but I'll just go and edit permissions here. So if I delete a permission, it's going to throw an error wherever it uses it in the flow. So that's the easy way to find out where it uses it. So in here, the embedded connections, it doesn't have any. Let's talk about embedded connections though. So these are not being used by the flow. Well, I want to get rid of it then. Talking about embedded connections, I can now share this. I can make somebody else a new owner of this flow or a co-owner of this flow, but that will share all of my permissions with them. So it's very important to understand how that works, and that's another reason that I use the automations account and all of its connections. I don't want people sending email on my behalf without me knowing it. So that's where you do that, is in here. To share those connections or change what connections you're using. Lost my train of thought. All right, so we have this saved. It's saved under my account. In Power Apps, we're under my account. So I did an automated cloud flow here, and it's asking for instant cloud flows. And I don't know that that's possible to change that. I'm going to go over here and do a create to see. Automated instant, triggered manual as needed. So I had it triggered by the event because, oh, duh, yes. I forgot that when we originally set this up, I decided to make this run outside of Power Apps. So I was thinking that I needed to connect it here so I could make the button run the thing, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is when the report requested box gets checked, that's when the thing runs. Okay, so one more thing I want to do in the flow though, now that I remember what the heck I'm doing, let's go into the flows and open that up one more time. So the very last thing, and this is important that it's the last thing, I want it to do is I want it to check that box that the report was created. And the reason I want to do it last, well, I won't actually do it last, I'll do second to last. The reason I want to do second to last is because if anything breaks anywhere in here, I don't want to get that flag back that says it happened. So now we're going to just do another SharePoint update. How about that? I remember to do it in the right order. And an update item. Oops, not what we're doing. Update properties, right? No, it is update item because this is in a list. Boy, long day. So this would be the list name of Rinker test data, and the ID is the very first trigger. I was thinking it would actually show the trigger when an item is created or modified, the list ID. Yeah, that's the ID that we want. All right, so now it's saying, okay, we got all these things that we can update. Which do you want to update? Why is it not showing? So the list is where the report is. Yes. And it's called Rinker Poor Data. Ah, that's the problem. It's the wrong list. Rinker Poor Data. Oh, magic. There are different columns in there. Okay, so when the item is created or modified, that's the ID that we want. And then we want the very last thing. What triggered this flow is it said the report was requested to yes. We now want to change it back to no, and we want to change the report created to yes. Save. Okay, and so it's saying this may result in an infinite loop. It's not smart enough to know that this report requested. Oh, wait. Bear with me a minute. Okay, so the switches has column changed to true. And so by changing this to essentially false, it's not going to trigger again. But it's not really paying attention. It's just saying, hey, this is something that if you change, may fire this flow again, creating an infinite loop. But we have a check in there saying that it didn't change. Well, actually, it may go through one time and then go down this no side and not do anything. So I'm fine with that. Trying to think of how else we could do that. Anyway. All right, so now it's going to say the report was created and change this flag back to no, and I'll show you why I'm going to change that to no in just a second. I think I already saved it, but we'll save it again, and then we'll go over to Power Apps. Almost done, I swear. All right, so now while I was paused, I figured out this whole button problem that I was having earlier. Let me get out of that and get back into this tree view. So for this detail screen, the original form here took up the whole page. So I shrunk it down to give me some space at the bottom. So now this data can scroll back and forth. This stuff will stay here. And I kind of started to mess with this, but I didn't finish it so that I could show what was going on. So what I had to do is I had to add a new form. So I used insert input maybe. Must be edit form according to the button. And probably it should have been display form now that I think about it, because we're just displaying this data. We're not changing it. And I did change that from edit to view. So probably the right thing to do would have been to put in display form. Okay, so when I did that, it made me this new form. And I went in and I clicked on the form and I dropped this down to item. And I chose for the item the browse gallery one.selected. So whatever is selected in the browse, that's the item that we're working on. And then the second thing is the data source. So the data source is that Rinker Poor Data table. And where I got those is I copied them right off of this is the form that has all this stuff. So I clicked into that and I looked to see what the item was, and it's browse gallery one dot selected, and the data source is Rinker Poor Data. So I just copied that into this new form. So now I have a tiny form at the bottom, and on that form I use the edit fields and add field, and I added two fields, one for report requested, one for report created. Now you see here it says report created. That is the key value there. So it's like the label. On this one, on the key, you don't see anything. And that's because I changed visible to off. So I left it on here for example. And so I click on key and I change visible to off. And now I don't see that report created anymore. Now on the actual data, I have changed it from true false to report not requested or report requested. And I'm going to go in there and change that again. So as far as the default, go into value here. And what I did is I think that's the only, it's auto height and text are the only thing that are populated on this. So on text, what I did is I just like in Excel, I did an if. I said if this item dot report requested equals false, then say this, else say that. What I really want to do, I just did that to show. What I really want to do is if the report hasn't been requested, I don't want to say anything. If the report has been requested, I want to say report requested. And I'm hoping what that will do is when you hit the button to request the report, it will say report requested, and then you just don't hit the button again. So it doesn't try and update that field. All right, so I want to just copy the same stuff, right? On text for this one, and I want it to be the value. So for text, instead of having it be the parent default value, it's locked. So I have to go in and unlock it to change the properties. And I can paste it in here too if I wanted to, but I like the formula bar. So now it's the same thing where it's taking whatever item I'm working on, has the report been requested equals false. Now I want to change this to report, crap, I can't remember what it is, available, printed, created. So it's helping me with that. Report created equals false. Then if it is false, I want it to say nothing. If it's true, I want it to say report created. Gosh, I think that's right. I think I got that the right direction. They shouldn't both be false. I guess I don't know which one I'm on. Oh, actually, I did want them to both be false. So I'm going to go into these columns, and I'm going to column settings, edit, default value. There is a default value of no. Double check this one has it too. Default value is no. So now I want to check both of these. And we'll check all three of them and change this from yes to no, and save. Maybe it just doesn't display the no. Oh, because it's a checkbox. No, I don't know. We'll see. All right, so now my last step. So they're both false now. They both will go away. So if I click the button for requested, it should say report requested. And if I then it goes through the thing and report requested should go away, and it should say report. What did I just say? Completed, created. Okay. So then this bottom button is going to be the open report button. I'm just going to change that now. And I actually don't know how to do this yet. And the top button is going to be maybe I do want this to say not yet reported. Let me do that. Maybe I want to do that on the bottom. And then I'm going to move that around just a little bit. I could slide that down. Well, I can slide it down. So right now, the location of this is set based on the width of the other text. So I guess I need to turn that off. And so that would be in the position here. See, it's grayed out. It's a formula. Right now, the formula is that stuff. So I could add to it. I think I want to just put a value in though. So the current value is 63. That's kind of handy to tell you. So I'm going to try 100. I did 1. Huh. 100 worked. So it's lined up with that was my intent. So create report, open report. I wish it showed exactly. I wish it would show the size of that. I guess. Yeah. Let me try 50 and see if that would. Oh no, because the top's probably in the right place. 40 is probably right. All right, so that's those two fields. Now these buttons are next. So I should be naming these and labeling these as I go, but this is going to be the create report button. And I think it's just 3 because it was the third one, and then the -1 was because I copied it. And this is the open button. So right now, I have it set to just toggle back and forth between the report requested true and report requested false. I don't really want that to do that on this open report, so I'm just going to put in false. That's not changing data to false. It means false that when you press on the button, it's not going to do anything. So on this button, though, I use the patch function, which is basically on selecting this button, it is going to change or patch a piece of data into this table. So the table goes first, and if you click on it, you can get some hints, just like in Excel. Patch doesn't show anything. If I click on Rinker, then it shows me the patch from the source, comma, record, comma, update. So here's the source, Rinker poor data, comma, browse gallery one.selected. Remember, that is the that's how it knows which item to look that we're working on, because in the browse gallery we selected it to get into the screen. So that is the row essentially, and then the column that we want to update is report requested false. We want to change that to true. So when we push the button, it is going to change that to true. That we do want the report. So now we should be good. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to hit run. So instead of doing anything right now, I'm going to go back to the main screen because I'm not sure it knows what we're working on. So let's pick this 172, whatever it is, job number. Looks like we have some error tests in there. This is the one that has both tests 1 and test 2, it looks like. Yeah, it just doesn't have that time for test 2. Let's change that. Oh, that's the one that we have to redo the field for, I think. But let's change it. So edit, that test 2 ended up at the bottom and there's no data in it. So we're just going to pick yesterday and say, okay, that should have the time. Again, if you didn't watch the first video or you missed it because it's so dang long, this didn't come in as the date time field, just as the date field. So I think I'm going to have to delete it out of the list and put it back in the list and then put it back in here. But anyway, this is my edit screen, so I can edit all this stuff, but I can't make the report until I save it. Now I've saved it. It says that it's not reported yet, but if I create if I click create report, it says requested. So it's pushed that request report yes back to the list, which hopefully will trigger my flow because the flow should be watching all the time. And then once the flow is done, I'm hoping that this will update, and it may or may not. I hadn't thought about that yet, but it may not update this until I come back into it. So, there is a way to do that, to refresh it, because I've done that with the GPS data before. Well, that was the email buzz, I'm sure. It says it failed. It failed because the file was already there. So it created the file. It failed on converting the file. Resource could not be found. Convert temporary Word file. Let me see if that was part of the, what is it called? The connections that I deleted. Or it couldn't find this. You know, I was told that sometimes it does it too fast. So maybe it tried to convert this before it actually got it saved. Let's test it again just to see what happens. Let's make sure we don't have those files in there. I have plenty of files in there. What the heck? Maybe there is an infinite loop. I'm going to check everything, and then I'm going to uncheck the top one and hit delete. I'm going to go over and peek at the... I wonder if those all got changed when I was messing around with these columns. But it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have had the yes. Good times. So I wanted, oh, it ran it again here. Check and see what it did there first. 1723, 191, 1723, 191. So it did run it for the correct one. Interesting. Just trying to figure out what would have made that trigger this last time. It's doing it again. And I hadn't hit submit again. At least it's working now. A little too good, maybe. Okay, so sometimes I can see in here what I'm looking for. Sometimes I have to search it. This is not obvious, so I'm gonna just get out of it and click on inputs for this one instead of outputs for the other. So it's for item number 1 and test time changed. We don't care about that. Report requested changed. Report created changed, but I didn't just change it. And then down here, it should have evaluated it. Did it, that specific column change to yes? Report requested, that's the column that changed. Still going. So I can go into here, we didn't talk about this, and I can turn this off so it quits running. There's got to be something in this evaluation that I have wrong where it gets the changes and then has the report requested column changed? Yes, it's changed. Oh, has it changed equals true? So if I actually, this is the problem. If I changed it to false, it's still changed. And this is evaluating if the column has changed. So I need to add another row in here. So I need it to say if the report requested column has changed, because it's true because it has changed, and so I got the one item has changed. So these are the changes. So, and the report requested is equal to true. I want both of those things to have to be true before it triggers it. So that column must have changed, and it must have changed to true. You can't change it to false because it changes to false, and then it just goes down here and does that update again, changes to false, sees the false, goes around again. Funny. Okay, so let's save that. And that's why I'm getting different files instead of errors, is because it changes the date or the seconds every time it happens. So I'm going to grab all these again. I'm going to ungrab the first one, my template file, and I'm going to delete. Now I'll go back in here and I will change, let's see, I saved it. I don't want to test it again. I just want to try it. So here it says the reports are created, but I deleted them. So I should be able to select these and change it, and it should run the flow and realize that I didn't check yes to the report requested box, so it shouldn't do anything. So let's try that first. Okay, so now according to the list data, there's no reports created and none requested. According to Power Automate, it should run them successfully 3 minutes ago. I would think it would go again. Oh, do I still have it off? Turn it on. Okay, so now I don't think that it's actually going to run because it was off when I made the change. So I'm just going to go into Power Apps, and I'm going to go back again, make sure it knows which item I'm working on. Choose this one this time. And there it says reports created. Oh, let me go back again. I'm going to stop this and refresh the data source. This is what I was worried about, refreshing the screen, and I'll have to learn how to do that. I don't remember. I've done it before, but I don't remember how. I think it was like every few seconds or whatever it refreshed for the GPS coordinates. Okay, so now it says not reported. It has pulled in new data, and I create report. It says report requested. Doesn't appear to be running, but it is on. "50 seconds ago, it ran twice. So the first through loop was to make the report. Hopefully, the second through loop was to see that something changed, but it wasn't what we needed it to change. It was so fast, I don't think it did anything. We can click in and see, but we can also just look. There's no files here. So that yes condition didn't work the way it was intended. So we'll try and look at this first one. Turn to false. Let's look at these. So has I don't know why these show up as being changed on that modification time. Has the report been requested? Yes. Is there an modified? Yeah, I'm not going to look through that. Well, if I don't have to. Oh, since. Here we go. So the get changes since 9/8/030/40 Zulu. And this ran at what? Oh, Zulu. So this is tomorrow. So 30/40 is the important part. It's 2 minutes ago. Or an hour. And 2 minutes ago. Thinking that modified might be the problem. Get the property changes since the trigger modified. That should be fine because trigger when it was triggered and it's been working. I might have to sleep on this one. Oh, and then it did it. Okay. What the heck? I'm confused. This makes sense to me and this makes sense to me, but these two first ones don't. So maybe it's just maybe the timing's just not working. It hopefully it won't run another loop and then we'll know that it worked right. Let me go back to Power Apps. It still shows not reported. So if I go back here and then go back into it, still shows not reported. Let's go into the data. The data shows that, let me make sure it's the right one. Yep, that 1354. It now shows that it's not requested, that it's been created. So we need something in here to refresh the Power App screen so that we know that when it goes from reported requested to reported, and then we need the on press code to have this open the file. And that's going to be a little tricky. I've messed around with some of that stuff before, and there's a few more components that need mixed in to make that work. So actually what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on that and go into is it visible? And turn it off so that you can't see it at all. You don't even know it's there. But if I go refresh data here, and then I play again, Now it shows that that report was created. We could even throw a time on the end of that. I guess if the other button would be in the way, but that would be handy because if you created a report 3 days ago and you just changed the stuff, it would be nice to know when that report was created. So might do that. Let me go back into the flows and see if it's continuing to run. Nope, it looks like that was it. So I'm gonna just let it rest and come back and see what see how it works tomorrow with that. Oh, that was the other thing is the update. See how it works tomorrow when you hit that create report button. But let me go back to Power Apps. Oops, that's not it. Loads. And I go back, but I want to save. Don't lose all my stuff. I don't want to leave until you're done saving. That better have saved. So I have this location test app. And in that app, oh, there's a refresh button. Is it running the app? How do I get it to edit the app? So the way this app works is when you come to the screen, it shows you your GPS location, but it doesn't change as you move. So if I move somewhere else and want to update that, I have to hit the refresh button. So we'll just look at what the code is for that someday. So okay, so the reload icon is what we want to do on select. So when you push it, reload, and then what it wants to reload. Oh wait, on select. Icon reload. Give me some more info. So here it says reload, and then it has the two pieces. On select icon dot reload. Well, I was hoping that I had figured out how to do it automatically. Since I put a button there, I probably didn't figure out how to update it every 10 seconds or something. So let me look into that a little bit, and that'll be my next steps, along with seeing if this thing is working correctly. Double check it's not still spinning in the loop. 7 and 9 minutes ago, same number. those two are 11. So yep, that seems to be working correctly. Let me just go in and double check that to make sure the report's still doing its thing. And we did put a date in, didn't we? Oh, look, the report only had data for those first few things, but not for these. So I still need to put in the dashes as defaults on all that stuff so that it shows like, you know, that there's no input instead of showing these variables. I don't like that. But the ones that were there, it looks like it filled out, so that's good. Make some notes and pick that up tomorrow.